I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. We don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one to love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat of drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets hits my skin. Well, fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades and reaching for the sun. Yeah, that's who we become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna seal the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. And I know that I deserve your love. There's nothing I'm not worthy of. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, gonna send the flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. Marching on, marching, marching on. This is me. I'm gonna send a flood. Gonna drown them out. This is me.
It is a great day to be in Arlington ISD and a great day to be in this community. Thank you for joining us today for this dedication of this building. We have lots of great things planned for you today. We will be providing some tours for you at the conclusion of the ceremony today so that you'll get to see this fabulous place where our kids get to learn each and every day. So let's give our Bowie voices under the direction of Jermaine LeBeau one more round of applause, please. We're going to do some special introductions of guests this morning, so if you'll follow along with us, we have our superintendent, Dr. Marcelo Cavazos, Board President, Dr. Aaron Reich, Board Vice President, John Hibbs, Board Secretary, Keisha Mays, Board members, Kristen Hudson, Justin Chapa, and Bowie Hogg. And Miss Walton wasn't able to be here with us today. She is actually watching her daughter on stage, I think, today. So she says, she sends her congratulations for our event today. We have Mayor Jeff Williams. Former board members Jim Ash, Peter Barron, Dan Dipert, Mike O'Donnell, Gloria Pena, Sherry Wade, Tony Pompa, Elwood Price, and Wayne Ogle. City council members with us today are Victoria Ferrara Myers, Michael Gillespie, Roxanne Thalman, Lana Wolf, Catherine Wyman, and Charlie Parker. We have former Mayor Richard Green, Texas Senator Konni Burton, Texas Representative Chris Turner, Judge Mary Tom Cronut, and Commissioner Andy Wynn. We have several of our namesakes with us today as well. We have Jimmy and Laura Jones and Sandy McNutt. We have our Tarrant County Community College District Chancellor Eugene Giovanni and Executive Vice Chancellor Dr. Elva LeBlanc. We have TCC Southeast President Dr. Bill Coppola, Vice President for Academic Affairs Dr. Zena Jackson, TCC Northwest President Dr. Zarina Blankenbaker, TCC South President Dr. Peter Jordan, and we also have with us Raul Gonzalez, President of the Mansfield ISD Board of Trustees. I'd like to now ask the Texas 31st Air Force Junior ROTC to post the colors, and Gabrielle Lawrence, one of our student ambassadors, as well as a student here at the Career Tech Center, she's going to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Right, at this time, we're going to have Dr. Aaron Rice, our board president, come to the podium and give school board remarks.
Before I begin, with our wonderful ROTC students, just makes me think that we need to honor our first responders and those that have served in our country. If you could please stand and be recognized. I will say, good morning. This is incredible, isn't it? Don't you agree? This is amazing. For me, it is an incredible honor to stand before you representing our Board of Trustees. As we work daily serving our community which we love, one of the greatest privileges we have is to name a school or facility after an individual. Thanks to you, the people of Arlington, who have shown such great love and passion for our children and the opportunities they deserve, with the passage of a tremendous bond that made this facility possible. That privilege for us was most recently realized this past May 18th. I'm sure Dan and Linda remember that day, when we voted on a resolution of our newest namesake for this facility, Mr. Dan Dipert. A person who is enlightened in all subject matter, including arts, math, athletics, philosophy, music, history, and any other cultural aspect of society. A man who does everything and does it well. A person who takes great strides in advancing knowledge for the purpose of bettering society. Do you think I'm describing Dan Dipert? Yes, I am indeed. However, I'm also reading definitions of Renaissance man. Dan, you are Arlington's very own modern-day Renaissance man. A more contemporary, hip definition is the most well-rounded, general awesome guy you can think of. And Dan, you are the most well-rounded, generous, general awesome guy I can think of. Our students will learn from the example he leads with. Rather than buying a gold leaf gilded frame for a work of art, he learns the art of gilding. He then takes it a step further and educates others about gilding, and then empowers gilders from around the nation to embark upon Arlington to gild tremendous masterpieces in our community, as in the chapel at Arlington Memorial, and the UTA, one of the UTA Maverick horses. On that note, Dan is very fond of horses, and he was interested in a carousel horse, and rather, which he could do pretty easily, to buy a carousel horse, no, not Dan Dipert. He learns to carve his very own carousel horse, and now he has that life-size carousel horse. If he needs an iron fence, which he has in the past, guess what? He welds it. And that's, of course, one of the skills that our students learn here at this Career Tech Center. They might be calling on you, Dan. As trustees, our focus is always on the student and what can be done to enhance their experience while they open their minds to incredible opportunities for them, for their future, as they graduate to become impactful adult citizens in our world. With this focus in mind, a facility naming is so important to be able to reach and inspire our youth. And there's, of course, formal policy and a specific procedure and process, but at the end of the day, the individual bestowed as the namesake is to embody the spirit of what the school or facility ultimately stands for. In the case of this Career Tech Center, that spirit is to engage students in an active love of learning while providing endless opportunities so they are able to succeed in the pursuit of their dreams and embark upon a path or career that is well-paying, rewarding, and satisfying. Dan Dipert serves as an example for the students that walk through these doors to be lifted by the spirit of this facility. He has always been engaged in an active love of learning, I believe, each and every day of his life. This learning has helped define who he is and afforded him many successes. And I'm not just talking financial, although that can't be denied. With that said, I'd like to take a personal moment to thank you, Dan, and Linda. You are amongst the most philanthropic, charitable champions in our community. Don't do that, Linda. I'm going to do it too. We are blessed by you to have you in the community. There's three things that aid in success. John Daniels, president and GM of the Texas Rangers, said this of people when he's looking for new ball players. It's not just about the talent, and I think this applies to Dan. It applies to our students that are benefiting from this facility. It applies to business, career, and life in general. And that they are character, which he is humble, having desire and drive, which has helped him navigate through many obstacles, and having an ability to handle adversity where he gets back up, dusts himself off, and goes right back at it and learns from his mistakes and failures. And that's what we do and our wonderful faculty do day in and day out in this district. Through a love of learning, Dan has exemplified a lifelong passion for youth, education, business, and entrepreneurism. Many know Dan as founding what is now one of the largest premier tour and motor coach companies in the nation, for leading the Chamber of Commerce, for receiving so many accolades in business, commerce, and industry, all of which are remarkable, well-deserved. In addition, he started out as a youth minister at First Baptist. Children, education has always been deep in his heart and soul. He was a founding member of the Arlington ISD Education Foundation and has served as a trustee for this Arlington ISD Board of Trustees school district for 2 terms. Through his service on the board and his generosity in support of our district, he and his family have had a lasting impact on countless students and teachers. In this facility, using nothing but state-of-the-art equipment, our students will be better prepared and be able to experience the success just described and exemplified by Dan Dipert. While the specifics of this facility and the types of programming offered will be covered by other individuals, other speakers in this dedication, just know that when I became a trustee nearly 9 years ago, we had 10 to 12 career-type offerings available to our student body. Currently, due to the vision of the board, this board, and I'd be remiss if I don't also include Peter Barron, Gloria Pena, Tony Pompa, and Miss Jamie Sullins, who is here with us in spirit today. The community expectation and support and the tremendous work of district staff. There are now 34 certificate programs and counting. This district provides free of cost to the students, absolutely free. The training, the certificates, the certifications earned, and transportation to and from this facility from their home high school campuses each and every day, creating this unparalleled access to the love of learning, success, and high-wage earning careers immediately upon graduating high school. This would not be possible without voters' approval and the tremendous private and public partners that we have in our community that have embraced our vision. The City of Arlington, UTA, Tarrant County College, Moritz, GM, Lockheed, and it goes on and increases just about daily here. Our community is on fire with this center. And although this is an amazing place, what makes the magic happen are the teachers and the staff that facilitate it all. At the end of the day, it's the people and the individuals in our classrooms providing instruction who make our school district what it is. This seemingly insurmountable task of preparing the excellent and extensive programming that occurs here at the breakneck speed by which it occurred, combined with the immediate full capacity utilization of the building by 4,000 students each and every week, starting the very first week this facility opened, was all done by the incredible teachers, staff, and administrators, and their love and care for our students and their dreams. With that, would all of those teachers, staff, administrators please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Let us celebrate this day and appreciate the fact that every organization needs people who not only transform the lives of those they touch, but also go significantly beyond their reach in their impact. That's what allows a district to thrive and for our students to be served exceptionally well. And Dan Dipert is indeed one of those people. In closing, now that we have planted this great seed, this facility, it will grow into a huge tree of learning and success for generations to come. Speaking of trees, did I mention that Dan is also an award-winning tree farmer? Yes, a Renaissance man whose leadership, mentorship, and amazing storytelling will help the continued renaissance that this building and the amazing people inside this building will provide Arlington. I thank God for this great day, I really do. With that said, on behalf of the school board, I am honored to dedicate this incredible facility filled with extraordinary staff led by Principal Ginger Polster, named the Arlington ISD Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Now Dr. Cavazos will come and give district remarks.
Thank you, Ginger, and thank you, Dr. Rice, for very inspirational words, and you captured really the feeling of today. And so, as your superintendent, I'm very proud today to be part of this grand opening and dedication of the Dan Dipert Center. I will start, as I often do, first and foremost with our students. The students that are here, that they represent the several thousand that come to this facility. Would we give a round of applause to all our students? Would you please stand up, students, and wave? And it is because of them that we are inspired, and we're motivated to go above and beyond what we need to do in education. And so they're a continual inspiration, not only for me, but for everybody that works in our school system. And I will tell you, Dr. Rice mentioned a little bit, that when we opened the doors, we opened at capacity. And that doesn't just happen. And I sometimes I get going, and you know how I can go, so I won't today, but I get going, and I often, kind of keep going past some of our central office staff. It does not just open a facility like this. It's because of a lot of people that dedicate a lot of hours and love to this project. So I'm not going to be able to name all of them, but I would like Cindy Powell, Kelly Horn, Stephen Wirtz. Would you stand as I call if you're here? I'm sure you're here. Our area superintendents, right? Leslie, where's Leslie? I'm sure Leslie's running around somewhere. She's over there. These are just some example of our senior staff that work tirelessly behind the scenes that you don't even see. So thank you for your work and dedication. Thank you. So the Career Tech Center, right? What an opportunity for our students and for our community. And I remember when it opened, the first day we welcomed students here, and Ginger and Tommy and others were out here, and the teachers. And we welcomed students, and they were in awe. And I love talking to students and visiting with them about what their experience is like in our schools. And they were in awe coming into a facility like this. But you know what was more on their mind than the building, even though the building is outstanding and it makes us all kind of go, wow? The young people I spoke to, what was in their mind, literally, because they told me, was this is for us. This is for us. And what that tells us is that they feel the love. They feel the love of our community, of our teachers, of our principals, of our central staff, of all the people that work so hard so that they can be successful. That was on their mind. And when I then visit after a while, once the wow kind of, they get into a routine, I ask them, what about your classes? What are you learning in welding and fire academy and engineering and nursing and culinary arts and all this wonderful stuff. And you hear the skills and the things that they're learning. We made, chocolate-covered strawberries or something, Dan. I don't know what they made today, but muffins and things like that, right? And we practice putting out fires and all this kind of stuff. And as they mention the skills that they're learning, what they're really sending a message to us is that they're inspired, that they feel connected, they feel engaged, they feel productive, they have hope in their future. They have hope that they can make this community, this state, and this nation a better place. That's what they're saying. And they're saying it because of the tangible resources that our community and our board and our family here has blessed Arlington ISD with. That's what they're saying. And so I encourage everyone to kind of reflect on that today. That the building is beautiful, wonderful, and we need the resources. There is no doubt, as Dr. Rice mentioned, we could not offer the programs. We simply couldn't. We're busing kids to South Campus at TCC for automotive, 5 o'clock to about 9 o'clock in the evenings, so they could make it. Just not sustainable. Now you have it down the hall, or corridor. This is not more than a hall. You have it down the corridor. What an opportunity, and we need the resources. But more importantly, we need our students to have the love and the support of all of us in this community. And that's what you do. And that's what you've done. And so on behalf of Arlington ISD, I thank you for that support, that you know that you're making a difference in the future of our community and our state and our nation. I failed to mention Craig Wright to stand up. Sorry, Craig. Craig Wright's our Director of Current Technology. And Craig hates attention, so this is like the worst thing in the world for him. But thank you, Craig, for your work as well. And there's so many others that I just can't mention all, but I thank them sincerely, because these things don't just happen. They happen because we have great staff that plan. Now to the teachers that work here, and to Ginger and Tommy and everybody that works here. I remember when we first opened, we opened back in the back. Had a kind of a seminar going on. It's a long story, we won't go into that. But we opened kind of in the back. Not one complaint about anything, at least to me. And people do complain, by the way, but they weren't complaining to me, right? I don't know if they complained to Ginger or not, but because the staff was as energized and inspired about this facility as all of us were. And so the teachers, the principals, the office staff, everybody who works here, custodians, security guards, SROs, the love that you have for our students is demonstrated every time I walk in here. So to them, let's give them one more round of applause, the people that work here every day. And we have great partners, as Dr. Rice mentioned, and you'll hear a little bit from TCC. But since I have the microphone, I'll tell you about TCC, right? It'll all be good, though. Tarrant County College is outstanding partner about offering courses, dual credit, technical dual credit, opportunities for our students, bringing courses from other campuses in their system to this center, because we open the door and we partner. UTA, Lockheed Martin, Moritz, great partners. But they see also the connection of their part, their piece of the puzzle to make our students successful. And so I'll thank them ahead of time to all our partners for this Career Tech Center, and they keep growing. Thank you so much for your support. Now on to Dan, and then I'll wrap up, because I could keep going. I love this place. But now on to Dan. Dan Dipert, what an individual. What an individual. Dan and I have had many conversations, mostly me listening. But no, I'm kidding. No, he gives me a lot of good wisdom. Dan and I have had a lot of conversations, and there is no doubt, every time I talk to Dan, it's about the love for our students. It's about students and their success. Because Dan has a story too, and he'll tell you here in a minute, his story. But he knows that everything he's done is because he's focused on that young person. And Dan, we're blessed, as Dr. Rice said, in our community to have you here so involved and engaged from day one. From the moment he heard about the bond, and I said a Career Tech Center is a possibility as one of the projects, he said, we need it. We need it, and we've needed it for a long time, and a lot of people have been planning and working and strategizing to get it. And that does not go unnoticed. This has been many years in coming. But Dan was a champion and continues to be a champion for students learning, for opportunities, for them to be successful and to change their family and themselves. And Dan, we can't thank you enough for being such a great partner and personally a friend, and your wisdom and your advice throughout the years, and certainly as we open this facility and the details of today. Much advice and wisdom. But I thank you, Dan, for all your support, all your love of our students in our district. So congratulations on your facility.
Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. At this time, we'll have Tarrant County College District Chancellor Dr. Eugene Giovanni give a few remarks on the partnership between the district and Tarrant County College.
Thank you, Ginger. Good morning, everyone. And oh, wow, there are building dedications, then there are building dedications. And this is absolutely wonderful. And congratulations to all. Dan, thank you. Certainly, Marcelo, the board. We greatly appreciate the partnership we have with Arlington ISD, and certainly this facility will even take that even further and higher. As mentioned, we have 6 campuses, but we try very much to operate as one college. And when we engage with partners, we do so as one college. And as was mentioned, there are programs, welding at the South Campus, fire science up the Northwest Campus, and automotive at the South Campus, Southeast Campus here, culinary, and others. So the opportunities that we're providing students through this partnership as one college. And in doing so, you go a long way in helping us. And another thing we really try to emphasize, and that is to be student ready, meeting students where they are. What's going to happen in this facility will go a long way in assisting us to understanding our students, putting them on a career path, and continuing them on that career path to exit and success. And then finally, the thing we talk a lot about is partnership. And this embodies partnership at its very highest level. The opportunity we have to work with the ISD in this facility goes a long way, not just to the partnership before this community, because when you talk about the 6 million jobs in this country that aren't filled, and another 13 million that are going to be created in the next 10 years, that about 3/4 of them are going to require education and training that goes on in facilities like this. So it couldn't be a better time to address the needs that not only this community has, but society as a large. And we're very, very fortunate, happy, and I'm proud to be part of that with all the TCC folks, and thank you for the partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Giovanni. At this time, I'd like to introduce Sloan Harris. He is with VOK Architects and is a partner with them. I would also like to recognize at this time the general contractor on the project. From Balfour Beatty, we have Tim Robitaille, John Moreau, and Damon Maldondo. If you guys will please stand and be recognized.
Thank you, Ginger. I normally don't bring notes when I speak. I just kind of wing it, and it tends to work itself out. But as Dr. Giovannini said, there are dedications, and there are dedications. So I brought some notes to make sure I don't miss any points. It's a slippery slope when you start thanking people in public, because inevitably you'll leave someone out, and that makes me very nervous. But I'd be remiss not to at least thank some very key players in this building, starting with the Board of Trustees and the vision that they had in setting out for this bond program in this Career Tech Center. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be a part of that. Dr. Cavazos, Cindy Powell, Kelly Horn, and your team, unbelievable investment that they've made just from the energy and the mission that they set forth with the design team in executing this project. And Craig Wright and Ginger Polster, and all of their CTC staff. The buy-in that they had into the process of programming and designing this project, the fortitude they had in that, and honestly, the latitude they gave us as architects to just spread our wings and fly in designing this. And then certainly the VLK team. Well, everyone from VLK, we have several people here from VLK. Well, if you're from VLK, will you stand up, please? And out of that team, I want to specifically recognize Jamie Barnes, whose wife's a teacher in the district. He was the project architect on this incredible project. And Richard Hunt, who was the project designer. And so much of this was his vision on the team that was on this project. VLK has worked for Arlington ISD since 1984. They were our first client when the firm was founded. I wasn't there then, but I say that to make the point that they're an incredible partner to VLK Architects and a very, very important partner. So when we got the notification that we were on the list to interview for this project, our firm went all out to make sure that we put our best foot forward and the opportunity to win. And when we did get the announcement that we were being assigned this project, it was a monstrous win. We know that this is a legacy project for the district. It's a legacy project for our firm. It's the flagship project of this bond program, and it's going to impact more students than any other facility in the district. To Dr. Cavazos' point about 4,000, or Aaron Reich's point about 4,000 students per week, that's unprecedented. Dr. Cavazos laid down the gauntlet for me to make good points about this building when I was up here speaking, and so what am I going to say? Well, what do I need to say? You can just look around and understand how awesome this project is. Obviously, I'm biased, being on the architecture team for it, but everywhere you look, you can see what's happening inside the instructional spaces. You can see all over the banners that say exhibiting opportunity. That's the motto for this project. You see transparency into all of the different labs and classrooms so that you can see what the opportunities are. So if students are in the CTC welding lab, they can also see what's going on in the health science labs. They can see what's going on in the cosmetology labs, what's going on in the culinary arts lab. It truly is exhibiting opportunities on so many different levels, and that's how this district gets to the point where they're offering 34 certificates. That's unbelievable. This project, this school, is unparalleled in the state of Texas and probably the country. There's nothing like it in the state, and I can say that because I've seen all the career tech centers in the state because we practice all over the state. I brought with me my daughter Mary Reese and my son Holden and my wife Stacy because I wanted them to see this project. My daughter and son are 6 and 5 years old, and talk about inspiration. I wanted them to be inspired when they walked in here. And I don't live in Arlington ISD, but I kind of wish I did, so that they had had the opportunity to attend this school, because it is truly phenomenal, the opportunities that it affords the students that come here.
We have homes.
And I just want to say that the process that we went through in designing this was not in a silo from an architecture standpoint. We had administrators, we had principals, we had teachers, and most importantly, we had students in the room that helped us vision the concept for this project. It was an incredible process, and I thank Cindy and Dr. Cavazos for giving us kind of a blank canvas to bring that process into them and let there not be any ceiling to where we could take the design of this project. It was an incredible stakeholder process, and I just thank you so much again to the board for giving us that opportunity, and thank you for continuing to provide your district so many excellent opportunities. Despite all the challenges that we have in the state and support for public education, AISD continues to provide optimal situations for their students to succeed. I mean, and the community support is unbelievable. And last but not least, certainly, I went to UTA, and when I got there, before I even realized to not know what I didn't know as 18 and a 19-year-old freshman at UTA, I at least knew that Dan Dipert was a pillar in this community. So we couldn't be more happy and more proud to have Dan Dipert's name on our project, and what an incredible, incredible pillar of the community you've been, and just I'm so happy that your name is on that front door. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sloan. At this time, I'd like to introduce Konni Burton.
Thank y'all very much. Just bringing a certificate of congratulations for Arlington ISD, Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center, in recognition of the official dedication and its future educational opportunities afforded to our Arlington ISD students. Just quickly, I wanted to tell you, I was talking to Dr. Cavazos, Bowie Hogg, Raul Gonzalez earlier. My heart skips a beat for these kinds of centers, career centers, actually. I come from the days of, when you talked about welding earlier, that's, what we learned in the little farm community that I grew up in. I've always said, and I believe it's true, and it's what we told our daughters as well, there's different career paths for everybody, and perhaps a college degree isn't for everyone, and that's what we were talking about, we've talked about for the last 4 years. So I love when these centers throughout the district are popping up, because I believe that these are going to be the kids that then have a technical career and that are going to start businesses. They're going to be the future business owners that we're going to be purchasing products and services from. So it's just congratulations. You are all beaming with pride as I sit here and watch all of y'all up here. Y'all are all beaming with pride, and you should be. Well done, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Dipert, for your contributions to this, and to the superintendent and the school board. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. And I also want to recognize Senator Kelly Hancock. She also sent us a certificate of congratulations that we received in the mail earlier this week, so I'd like to recognize her for that as well. All right. At this time, we'll have Representative Chris Turner join us.
Good morning. Wow, what a day. It's so great to be here, and I'm excited to be here, and I grew more excited when I walked in and picked up this brochure that says, "Welcome to the Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center," and it says, "Services available to the public." I don't know if everyone got one of these, but you should check it out. I'm excited because apparently I can come here and get a haircut for $5. And I have been overpaying for my haircuts for some time now, so I'll be taking advantage of that opportunity. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the Arlington Independent School District, to Dr. Cavazos, the Board of Trustees, to Mayor Williams, who led the successful 2014 bond effort, and to the faculty and staff who have worked so hard to create this beautiful Career Technical Center, the crown jewel of the Arlington School District. And I would argue that this facility, which offers 68 CTE courses and 27 industry certifications, in addition to several agricultural certifications, is the premier career-oriented school in the entire state of Texas. And I am very proud that this school is physically located in House District 101, but I'm even more excited that thousands of Arlington students will have the new opportunities to learn, to discover, to grow, and to succeed. And with the rich offerings that this campus provides, who knows how many future police officers and lawyers and firefighters, engineers, business professionals, architects, healthcare professionals, and more are in our midst right now and will be roaming these halls on Monday morning. I serve on the Higher Education Committee in the Texas House, and one of the things that we work a lot on, as the Chancellor would attest to, is our long-term strategic higher education plan for the state of Texas. It's called the 60 by 30 Texas Plan. And in essence, the crux of it is this, that by the year 2030, we need to have 60% of young Texans, basically the 22 to 35 age cohort, have some sort of post-secondary degree or certification. And the reason for that, they didn't pull that number out of thin air. The reason is that 60% of the jobs in the year 2030 are going to require a post-secondary degree or certification. Right now, in the state of Texas, we're at about 38, 39% in that cohort. So we got a long ways to go. And our institutions of higher education are working hard to meet that goal. Tarrant County College is working hard to meet that goal. But an important part of the equation is having our public school districts invested in it as well and aligned with our higher education goals. And that's exactly with the partnership with Tarrant County College what the Arlington School District has done here. And I would say that there's a reason that this school board was named Texas School Board of the Year a couple of years ago. It's because of the vision that you've demonstrated here, executed by your outstanding superintendent, Dr. Cavazos, that's made this all possible. So congratulations to you all. Of course, when you build a facility this beautiful, with a mission this important and standards this high, the challenge is to come up with a name that is commensurate with the excellence and the vision that this school embodies. And that's a difficult task. But you got it right when you decided on the Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center. It's the perfect name. And that's not just because the Dan Dipert name is synonymous with Arlington for Dan's remarkable success in business, as well as he and Linda's commitment to so many important causes in our community. I think it's the perfect name because everything Dan Dipert has done in this community is about providing more opportunity for the people of Arlington, especially for young people. Whether it's his leadership in business, education, or the nonprofit arena, I think the question that drives Dan Dipert's generous spirit is not just, how do I give back, but also, how do I create more opportunity for others to be successful? And to Dan, there is no better way to create those opportunities than to support public education. It is his passion. Whether it was his time on the Arlington School Board or being the driving force between the Education Foundation, Dan has invested a lot in the students for this school district. And that's because Dan knows that a good education for every child is the key to what opportunities they will have or not have in their future. And the instructors at this Career Technical Center are already unlocking so many said opportunities for thousands of students in this community, and the state of Texas will be better off because of that. And I would go so far as to say that if every school district in the state of Texas had a patron saint like Dan Dipert, our state would be a lot better off. So it's an honor for me today to be part of this, to present Dan a resolution, which I will not read because a lot of it's been said already. But most importantly, it's an honor for me to call you a friend, Dan. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. At this time, we have Mayor Jeff Williams.
What a transformational day. I know you were going to say, why didn't he say what a great day? I'm saving that. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want you to think about how transformational this is. Let me share with you a story of when Dr. Cavazos invited me to go with him at the beginning of the school year to go out and visit high school dropouts to try to get them to come back. What we found were kids who did not have hope, who did not have a vision, and many who did not believe that they had an opportunity to have a career. Immediately there I thought of this place that was already envisioned, of how this was going to change lives. There was going to be opportunity for kids as early as 8th grade to envision their career, and that it would give them hope. And they didn't necessarily have to go to a 4-year college in order to be successful, because now we're having training, y'all heard it, in welding, culinary arts, great jobs that are badly needed by companies. And now think about how kids that would be dropping out of school, perhaps ending up in jail, will now be productive citizens, helping businesses and making such a difference. Yes, today is a transformational day in Arlington, Texas. You know, Dr. Cavazos, Dr. Rice, our school district is doing creative, entrepreneurial projects that are making a difference. There is a path for each one of our students now to be successful. And we have got to be ambassadors to share that story, because that story is not widespread enough. Our school district is making tremendous strides in making a difference, and you look at what's happening here, it's a phenomenal thing. Thank you for your creativity and the entrepreneurial spirit here of what is going on here in this particular place. But it has been said, when I say entrepreneurial spirit, don't you think of the Dipert spirit? That's what I think of. You know, absolutely. Dan Dipert starts out taking care of youth at First Baptist Church, caring for their needs, and then he gets an idea of a travel agency, and then guess what? People here in this city get behind that idea, and suddenly greatness has happened. But then, in the true Dipert spirit, he's giving back to the community. And yes, he is a creative visionary, an entrepreneur, and a champion for youth and education. So it's so fitting, of course, has been said, to have this place named after Dan Dipert. But here's something else I want you to do today. Have you thought about who is in this room today? Look around and see the many people that have been influenced by that Dipert spirit, and also the many influencers in here who have all led to our community being known as the city that doesn't just talk about it, we get it done, and we work together. That can-do spirit that has been shaped by Dan Dipert and so many others that are sitting right there beside you right now. It is a real tribute to both our school district and to Dan and Linda of the people that are here today, because tremendous quality that has now led to another historical moment here in our city. So many great things have been accomplished, but yet now another milestone in the history of our community and the history of our school district to take us to another level. And then that Dipert spirit of partnership. Do you not hear that throughout our community now? You know, isn't it fitting that we have our educational institutions like TCC right in the middle of this, and then we have our Chamber of Commerce and our businesses partnering with this, which is right down the alley of what Dan Dipert would definitely want, and it is happening. And of course, he led the path of businesses getting involved here. And now, not only is our curriculum being influenced by our businesses so these kids can go into their jobs, we are having a record number of companies and businesses here increase in size because of a skilled workforce that is being contributed by our educational institutions and our current businesses. A formula for success. Thank you, Dan Dipert, for what you are meaning here. And yes, I have a proclamation to read because you know what we need to do on this day. Whereas Dan Dipert purchased a small travel agency 46 years ago and has since transformed it into the multi-million-dollar travel and tour business that we know today. And whereas Dan has been the recipient of several honors, such as the Mid-Cities Entrepreneurial Achievement Award by the University of Texas at Arlington, and the Dallas-Fort Worth Chambers of Commerce, as well as the Star Award by the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the Dipert family formed the Dan Dipert Family Fund to benefit Arlington causes and currently supports the AISD Education Foundation, and whereas the Arlington ISD Board of Trustees named the Arlington ISD Career and Technical Center the Arlington ISD Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center that will offer state-of-the-art courses in career and technical fields to all district high schools, and whereas the Arlington ISD Dan Dipert Career and Technical Center will further build on the dream that Dan Dipert has for all students of AISD, and his legacy will be experienced by generations to come. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Williams, Mayor of the City of Arlington, Texas, and on behalf of the Arlington City Council, do hereby proclaim February the 10th, 2018 as Dan Dipert Day. Dan, come up here.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Dan, it is a great day in Arlington, isn't it? Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. At this time, we're going to introduce some friends and family of Dan's. Tom Cravens, children Dan W. Dipert and Autumn W. Dipert Brown, and wife Linda Dipert. Also want to acknowledge his grandchildren. We have Zoe Dipert goes to Arlington High School. There she is. And Christian Dipert is a student at Bailey Junior High. So at this time, I believe Tom Cravens is going to come up and say a few words. And then Linda will say a few words.
Last Saturday, Dan and Linda and Diane and I went on a day trip. And if you've ever been on a day trip with Dan and Linda, it wasn't just to talk about the beautiful weather and everything else. Linda had an agenda that was a mile long on kind of what she wanted me to do, and Dan was her sidekick there that was talking to me also. But coming back, if you ever been to the north Loop 820 and I-35 exchange, I-35W exchange, they change it about every 2 days, about you go this way and that way. Well, I missed the turn to get on Loop 820 to go back east to Arlington, and I came down 35W going south, and I wanted to turn around and go back and hit it, so I turned around and we stopped at a red light at Northeast 28th Street. And I was going to turn left, and Dan said, "You see that motel over there?" And I mean, it was an old motel. And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "I spent the night there in 1964. I don't even remember 1964, plus where I spent the night. And so it pricked my interest. I said, "What for?" And he said, "Well, you know, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I was assistant youth director at a church there, and I was looking for a full-time job. And I got an interview at Northside Baptist Church. They wanted me to come, and I spent the night there. Well, I went for the interview, and I found out that they wanted a part-time youth director. I wanted a full-time job. I needed a full-time job. So I politely said thank you and no thank you, and I went back to the motel. And I had a friend that had brought his children to one of my camps in Arkansas from Arlington for several years, and I called him just to say hello. Maybe we'd have dinner or something like that and make something out of the trip. And he said, "Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you." So he waited a little while, and he got a phone call, and he went over and interviewed, and Roy Wood, who some of you may know Roy Wood, he was my second grade principal at Westside School. Roy interviewed Dan and said, "You're hired right now, full-time youth director at First Baptist Church in Arlington." So that's how we got Dan Dipert to Arlington, Texas. And that certainly was not a mistake. And Aaron and the rest of the speakers before me pretty well went over everything Dan's done. Like Wayne Coble said one time, we just need to bronze him and then we can take care of the rest of it. But there's a couple of things that you didn't know. When Dan was a youth director at First Baptist Church, it was across the street from the bank that I worked at. So he would come over for coffee, and I was lamenting the fact that we'd started a travel agency there. It was the worst thing that I ever did at the bank, and it was just terrible. I'm not sure if we paid him or he paid us to take the thing off our hands. And he took it, and look what he did with it, and left me there as a lowly banker for all these years. And Dan took that travel agency to the heights that it's been taken to, and his children are the recipients of it now after they purchased it. But Dan, we talked about the Renaissance man, and he certainly is. And all the things that we talked about, the gilding and the fence, the welding of the fences, and all the kind of things that he can do. There's a couple of things that you did not know he did, and but he's a pretty good cook. His dad was a cook in Arkansas. He had a filling station in Damascus, Arkansas, and Dan grew up in the back of that filling station. And they learned how to cook there. And one of the best things he ever cooked was hams. And I think he still cooks them on Thanksgiving and special occasions. They're really good. So Dan, that's one of the things, the Renaissance man, they didn't talk about everything else Aaron mentioned and kind of took what I was going to tell you. But The other thing was that he decided he wanted to had some picture frames he wanted to make, so he made them himself. He didn't want to pay the price to have it. And then when he made them, he had to figure out how to get it gilded in gold. He did that. And I guess the last thing that he did that many of you probably don't know is Dan and Linda went to England for several months, and he learned how to lip read. True story. His hearing was getting a little bad, and he decided he'd learn how to lip read. And he went over there and mastered it. So, you know, you talk about a Renaissance man. He doesn't just think about doing it, he does it. When they call you, that's what caller ID's for, watch out, you know. You know, but Dan, when he was over there at coffee one day, we were talking about the American Cancer Society, and we raised some money for that, and that's kind of how we really got bonded together. And then Lynn Hale wanted to start an AISD foundation, and Lynn asked Dan and I to be on the first board there. And so he did that. He's not only a doer and a worker, he's a philanthropist, and has done a great job. When he was on the board at Texas Health Arlington Memorial, he noticed that the chapel was underneath the stairs. It really, literally was. And he just didn't think that was the right place for it to be. So he put together some people, and here again, a lunch that was not just for lunch, raised the money to move the chapel. And if you haven't seen it, it's in the main entrance, and it's really great. The gilders came down and gilded one whole wall. So he's been an amazing friend of mine for all these years. Dan and Linda have been a very integral part of this, and I'm very proud to call him a friend of mine, and I'm glad to introduce Dan Dipert to you.
All right, so Dan W. is going to be speaking next.
Okay, so it's not the Dan Dipert, okay? Mayor Williams, I want to tell you, the Dan Dipert Day Award is so nice, and I know my dad enjoys that a lot, but those of us that are in his orbit a lot, we can tell you that every day is Dan Dipert Day, trust me. Every day. And some of the people that can back me up on that, I want to, on behalf of the family, I want to get employees, anyone who's worked at Dan Dipert, the company, for any amount of time. If you're here, will you please stand up and let us recognize you? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I've had for a long time, people have come up to me and said, hey, I saw your bus over at the stockyards. I saw your bus over in Dallas. And I'd take a lot of pride in that. That was really nice. But lately it stopped. It's not really happening anymore. Now people are coming up and they're saying, what is that building on Pioneer Parkway with your dad's name on it? What is that thing? Over and over. I've heard, is it a basketball arena? I've heard, is it Google's new headquarters? All kinds of stuff. People are like, they are so into this building and the design of it, the architecture of it. It's really neat. I think it's perfect for Arlington. I think it's great that we're as they've talked about, this center is so well thought of and well done. So I wanted to let you know, though, that it's cutting out some of that bus talk. So, and then the last thing, I didn't know really what I should say about my dad because I knew you would hear so much about him. What you're going to hear in his personal story, when I think about my dad, I think about the phrase, let her rip. Let her rip. Because that's what he does. He gets his information together. He calls people for help. If he needs some help figuring out how to be a tree farmer, he'll call tree farmers. And he'll get it together, and he'll get his seeds, and he'll get the weather, wait for the weather to be right, and then what'll he do? He will let her rip. Let her rip. And I've been privileged really to see that in my life, that you can try things and fail, try things and succeed, and really not change much with either. And that's how he is. He's succeeded in a lot of things. He's failed at some things. But all along, he's been the same guy that they've been talking about today. I love my dad very much, and I'm very proud of him. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Autumn Dipert Brown to the stage, please.
Well, when you go near the end of the agenda, almost everything's been said. But I do have a few things that may be a little different. When Dad came to Arlington to be a youth director at First Baptist Church, Dan was a baby, and I was a toddler. He and my mother, who's here today, knew no one, but Dad knew he needed to make a move to make our family's life better. I'm not sure at the time that he knew that he was going to be bettering the lives of generations of people. But he has already. And with this school, he's going to better the lives of, as Jeff said, many, many more generations. Thank you so much to the ISD board for giving us this honor. We're very privileged, and thank you very much. Dan spoke of Dad surrounding himself with other people that had strengths he didn't have and knowledge he didn't have. Today, I want to talk about how he's given that back, and a lot of people have already said that. When he came to Arlington, he was 25 years old. He had 2 kids. It was 1964, and he was brought here to lead teenagers through the most difficult period of their life. As part of his ministry, he started a cafe across from Arlington High School, class of 1980. As part of that ministry, he started this cafe called the Colt Cafe to reach young people in an environment that was cool and less intimidating than the church. He went to them. He didn't wait for them to come to him. He went to them. He reached out to them. Some of those teenagers, baby boomers all, are here today and can attest to his exceptional guidance as they were becoming adults during one of the most tumultuous times in our American history, the 1960s. In the 70s, when he started the travel business, he didn't stop mentoring others. He hired young people with potential and helped them become outstanding business people, even though all of them would eventually move on to other things. He mentored young people he met in business, at the chamber, through philanthropy, and through his civic service. He understood that every person has a journey, and he wanted to be part of their journey. Many of those people are here today, and some you students, you don't know, but he's part of your journey. Those here can attest to his leads, his introductions to influential people in the community, and most of all, his generous advice and counsel. He joined every organization he could find, locally and nationally, and quickly became a leader in all of them. Numerous national tourism-related organizations have honored him for his leadership and vision. He started the very first benchmarking group in the motor coach industry, a 20 group that now has hundreds of motor coach business leaders participating. We share business practices, marketing ideas, trends, and support each other. Everyone is making more money and contributing more to our employees and, more importantly, to our communities because he made it happen. As Dan said, he made it happen. And lastly, I can attest to his leadership as a father. The best father ever. Ever. On the first day of my very first grown-up job, sorry, he called me very early in the morning, which is not the best time for me. I don't remember most of what he said that day, but I do remember the last thing that he said to me. Before he hung up the phone, he said, "Autumn, there is only one thing that you have that nobody can take away from you. It's your integrity. Only you can give that away." Then he said, "Go get 'em." Thanks, Dad. Thanks for everything.
What a beautiful tribute. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Miss Linda Dipert to the podium.
Well, I'll try to give you something that you hadn't already heard. I know everybody's tried to tell you who Dan is, but I think I have a slightly different take on that because I'm going to, I'm going to tell you the story, the question that is most often asked of us, and that is, how did we meet? So really, this is for you, Robin and Steve. We were just asked that this week, how did we meet? And I said, you've got to come Saturday to hear. So I hope it also tells you who I fell in love with, why today I'm more in love, I have more respect than I did 38 years ago for him. In 1980, I was hired by National Car Rental to negotiate rates with companies that had high volume car rental. At the time, everybody used a travel agent. That was back in the day. There were no personal computers, there was no internet, there were very few 800 numbers, so they all used the travel agent to get their business done. After signing my first account, which was an Arlington account, my boss joined me to go visit their travel agent, and it happened to be Dan Dipert Travel. We went with the intention of talking to him about the rates, the booking procedures, the specials that we had to offer. But like was said earlier, when we got to his office on Mesquite, we were welcomed in, escorted back to Dan's office, and with an enthusiastic Dan Dipert, he had no interest in hearing about the rates or the specials or any kind of cars. He was building a building further down on Abram Street, and that's all he wanted to talk about. So he pulled out the plans, he laid them on the table, he went room by room, he went paint scheme by paint scheme, he pointed out every outlet in every room. He even went so far as to pull out some stained glass, some leaded glass that he'd brought back from Scotland in a castle, and he said, I'm installing these in my building. He was so proud. At the end of that was it. Meeting was over, and we were gone. As my boss and I got in the car, he said, you know, Dan Dipert, he's a very successful bus tour operator, so don't expect much business from him. Well, I didn't even know what a bus tour operator was. I was just thinking about my unmarried sister, who's 10 years older than I am, and that she ought to make a visit down to Arlington. Weeks later, I wanted to go see this mammoth building on 709 West Abram, and when I went by, it was just a slab, and not because it hadn't been built, but because it had been built, and 6 weeks later, it burned to the ground. So the only thing that was there was the marquee, and it didn't say business closed or temporarily closed for repairs. It said, we're open next door. And there were several that are here today that can attest to this. They were cramped. Dan had rented the little house that's still next door in a small space, and it was a hub of activity. I went in there and there was no room for me, that's for sure. But as has been said, Dan had a business to run. He had employees to care for. He had clients to take care of. So nothing slowed him down. There was no pity party. There was no time for that. When I went back months later, after he had rebuilt, I went into the reception area and I asked if I could speak with his manager, whose name is Sharon. And before Sharon could get out to me, Dan came bursting out of his 10-foot door with this leaded glass, not the same that he had shown us, but he had kind of a backup set of stained glass. And he said, can I help you? And I said, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just waiting for your manager. Don't worry. And he said, without hesitation and without even a smirk, he said, would you mind coming into my office? I really don't want you to loiter in my lobby. Like, loiter in your lobby? Like, who says that? By the time I got back to my office that day, there was a handwritten message, because again, it was the 80s. There's no voicemail, no emails, no cell phones. And it said, Dan Dipert's called, and he'd like you to call him. And I thought, oh boy, what now? How much worse could it get? I was reluctant, but I considered myself a good salesperson, so I called him. And they said, he's already gone. He's gone for 6 weeks. He's in New York City for fall foliage. Don't worry about it. I said, well, do you know what he might have wanted? And they said, he probably just wanted a free car. I thought, okay. So I felt I had escaped that. Well, the next time I saw Dan was 7 or 8 weeks later. He'd come back from New York, and we were in Grapevine at a Delta Airlines event where they always had functions in those days, travel functions. National Car Rental had a booth. I went into the back of the room, and when I looked up, there were these blue eyes piercing, looking at me. They were laser focused. I could tell they were blue from that far away. And it scared me. I knew it was Dan, and it scared me the way he was looking at me. So I left, and I went back to my coworkers. Dan followed me out, and to my surprise, he asked me out. But in the 80s, you know, again, it was a lot of travel functions. You never really knew if you were being asked out on a date or just to join them for something. But I said yes because, and some of you'll know, Tom, you'll know, the City Club was just announcing that they were opening in the First City Tower. And they had their party in Fort Worth, and that's what he was inviting me to. And I thought, sure, that sounded like fun. Really, for me, it was more about the party than Dan. But then he called me a couple days later in the office, and he said, you know, I think we should go out before we go to that so that we can get to know each other. A pre-date? Okay, I'll do that. So he picked me up in a limousine. I thought that was pretty cool. He was dressed in a suit and tie. Note to Christian, suit and tie on your first date. I was impressed. He made reservations at the mansion on Turtle Creek, and then he ordered steak tartare and artichokes, 2 of my very favorite foods. So not only was he willing to share those with me, but we ate off the same plate. For me, it couldn't have gotten any better. Just when I was starting to kind of soften up and see him as a guy instead of a business connection, he turns to me and says, so, where do you think you'll be in 5 years from now? Once again, I thought, this is an interview. This is not a date. So the next night was what I thought might have been a real date, but I still wasn't really sure. And I met that's when I started meeting some of his friends. I met Steve and Judy East. I met David and Beth Hughes. And they all seemed very normal. And they all seemed to think he was very normal. So I was willing to take it another step. A few days later, he called and said, why don't you come over for dinner? I'm cooking, my son's going to be there, and I'd like you to meet him. And I thought, well, this is a real opportunity for me to find the real Dan, because he was 16, your age, Zoe, when I met your father. And I thought, he can't hide anything. He's going to say, Dad, get real, if he was trying to act anything other than himself. So when I went over, we had dinner in the dining room. Dan had just gotten home from work, so he was still in his suit, and his monogrammed signature white shirt with the monogram on the cuff. And the thing that I really remember were his buttery, soft, dove gray leather loafers. And he was kind of perched back in the dining room chair, and his feet were kind of up on the table. And he was just casually talking to Dan, like, how was your day today? And, you know, when's the next basketball game? And again, that all seemed pretty normal. And Dan seemed to think he was pretty normal, right? No, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. And I went home and I called my mother and I said, how could this guy be so nice? He's such a gentleman. I just never been around anybody like that before. And then soon after that, I met Tom and Diane, and I met Wayne and Nancy Coble. And again, they seemed to think that he was okay. I had a chance to be with Wayne at the Fielder Museum fundraiser one night, and we were just the two of us. And I said, so Wayne, what is it I should know about Dan? And he just laughed, as he does, and he said, just ask him. He's an open book. Do you remember that, Wayne? And that's when I realized that Dan is who he seems to be, and I didn't need to try to figure him out, just enjoy him. So here's what I know about Dan. You're right, Autumn. His integrity is number one. That's the most important thing to him. Yes is more than a word. It's a commitment you can go to the bank on. I've taken advantage of that many times. He's not afraid to ask for help. He looks for opportunities to mentor. His actions speak as loud as his words. If there's a gray area, the advantage goes to you. He's generous with his love, his time, and his resources. His decisions are based on the good of all, not self-interest. And especially to the students and the administrators, the educators, he'll never embarrass you and he won't disappoint you. He never has me and he won't you. Jimmy Jones, you get me, right, with this tearing up? Thank you. So I couldn't be more proud to introduce you to the newest namesake in the AISD family, Dan Dipert.
Whoa. Tough. Whoa. Hello. Now, wiggle a little, everybody. Wiggle a little. It's not that much longer. I should stand here and talk about every individual that came up and what they mean to me, and I'd love to do that, but y'all have been generous with your time. I won't. But we've got some class acts that were on this program today. Thank you for all the wonderful things you said. I would like to take a personal privilege because I wanted to introduce my son's wife. We introduced those children from Arlington High and Bailey that we're so proud of, but I'd like for you to meet Inez Dipert. Inez, please stand. And my children's mother, Nellie Dipert. Nellie, thank you. And Nellie is a former teacher at Swift Elementary School as well. The Bowie choir ensemble sang this is me. Well, folks, this is me. I don't know that guy they're talking about. This is me. That evening, the Board of Trustees surprised me and made me the namesake of the Career and Tech Center. I thought, quite literally, how do I deserve this? Let me tell you why I thought that. The summer before I entered the first grade, my mother, father, sister, and I were living in the back 2 rooms of a service station. My father had been in the Civil Conservation Corps and learned how to cook. Civil Conservation Corps, those of you that are not old enough to know, was a Depression era organization that would hire young boys to go out and work on farms and national parks and make improvements. It was a Roosevelt New Deal to try to get our country out of the Depression. My dad learned how to cook in that organization. And he and my mother rented this service station. Because he could cook, he took some of the things out of the service station and put 9 stools in there. Started cooking for travelers going all the way through the Ozark Mountains of Arkansas, the central part of the country. To my family's surprise, he was 29 years old and got drafted into World War II to fight in the Pacific for our country's effort to win the Second World War. While my dad was away, my mother, who was a late teenager at the time, had a rough couple of years with my sister and I. The distraction of my dad being away, this is all I know, was difficult for me in the first and second grade. At the beginning of the third grade, my teacher was so frustrated with me because I didn't read well that she sent me back. There were only 4 rooms in this schoolhouse. She sent me back to one of those 4 rooms, the first and second grade, and told that teacher to make me read in the first grade primer. I went back, humiliated, embarrassed, stood in front of that first grade class. I knew some of the words, but I couldn't stop crying. Now, teachers that are here, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. But back in the 40s, there was no testing. There was no remedial, I can't even say the word, remedial English. There was nothing. You were left on your own. I don't remember it ever being mentioned again in my family. I was left to pull myself up. Although I ended up getting a bachelor's and a master's degree in higher education institutions, it was always a struggle. There I was, the same 9-year-old kid that stood in front of that first grade class trying to read, standing in front of this board of trustees, being surprised that they were going to name the school after me. It was an honor beyond belief. But I can tell you today that because of my lifetime struggle with early childhood learning, the difficulties of those experiences, I stand before you totally honored, thankful, and grateful. The learning journey I've been on during my life made that announcement that day all that more precious. It gave me an affirmation that maybe I had done something right. Maybe Miss Presley was wrong. The Arlington Independent School District has created a campus here in this beautiful building where the youth of our community can pursue a robust skill learning experiences. Professional adult team leaders will engage our youth in planning and implementing skills, organizing, reasoning, thoughtful debate, openly and without fear, where they are resilient in their argument and generous to those who disagree with them. The administration and staff of this center are under no illusion of the importance and difficulties of the task before them. The lives of 4,000 plus students are their task every day, all those involved in the strategic planning of this center, making it happen, those, Mayor, who voted yes for our bond issue to build this center are to be congratulated. All of us are to be congratulated this day. This is yet just another learning opportunity in our Arlington Independent School District community and that community's future. Having said all that, we're just beginning. Technology will evolve. Skills needed today will be out of date tomorrow. It's up to the parents and the community leaders, Chamber of Commerce, the City Council, the school board, everyone in the community to engage and partner with this center as we go forward in this ever-changing world and this ever-changing technology and career center. I ask Ginger Polster, and if you will, I'm almost finished after I read these. I asked Ginger if she'd share with me some thoughts from the students and some of the teachers. This building is not a year old. I said, give me some information here. She sent me a whole list of things. I took 3. One student that walked in the building said, "No bells, we're free." And the student added, though, honestly though, it gives everyone a sense of independence. Everything is more flexible and fun. Another student said, "It's a really great learning environment. I like the college-like feel." And a third sentence, and there's 20 or 30 here, but I'm only going to read 3. A third sentence, a student said, she liked everything about the building. The people are nice and considerate. The adults is what she means that are teaching are nice and considerate. The building itself is awesome. I love it. What you need to know about the Career and Tech Center is that the kids come first. Content is second. There are few rules, but high expectations. And I think these young men and women today met those expectations. I want to read a few, 3 or 4 quick notes that counselors and leaders said about students. We have a student here that is going to the police academy here in the center. She's sponsored by the Arlington Police Department, a first-generation Mexican-American student. They're doing dual credit, meaning they're going to finish high school and they're taking college credits. She's just finished 9 hours at the University of Texas at Arlington, and she's recently been accepted at the University of North Texas on a full scholarship, paying for everything. The scholarship is prestigious. She didn't apply for it. It was given to her. Amy Wood, one of our counselors, said, through a journal entry, I found out a student was a parent of a 3-year-old. This student also works 50, 60 hours a week and pays half of their family's monthly bills. They wanted to give up and even considered dropping out. Through the dropout prevention program that AISD has, they got the needed credits to graduate from high school. The student is taking 2 courses here, which is driving their career choice. This simple change brought about a rising star. A huge burden has been lifted off their shoulders. Jan Halton, one of our counselors, said about another student, through his interactions with staff members and willingness to open up. This young man has not only secured a place as a welder, but he's also made connections with those who are leading the welding class to find a job so he can provide for his daughter, whom he has full custody of. He's a fixture at the Career Tech Center and a leader in the welding class. Now, folks, we're not a year old yet. Last student, Tammy Newsom, counselor here. Had a young man go into one of our high schools. Kids come here 2 days a week. This young man was going to one of our large high schools. Said he'd experienced some bullying in the huge crowds of this high school with the fact that he had attention deficit disorder and general anxiety. Caused some real frustration in the high school, but not here at the convention, at the Career and Tech Center. He's in a welding class, and he has gained confidence in this class. And here's what his dad said. Dads, you can relate to this. His dad said that until 6 months ago, he wondered if his son would ever find a job and move out when he graduated. Now, all you young people here think your parents don't want you to move out. But trust me, they do. And he says now his son has hope and a plan for his career, that he enjoys and is competent in. Dad said that the CTC turned his son's life around. That's what it's all about. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, board.
I want to give Dan and Autumn and Tom and Linda and Dan another round of applause for speaking on his behalf today. For those of you who may not know, there's not anything here at the Career and Technical Center that is traditional. We are innovative, we think outside the box, nothing we do is second class or second rate. And so that includes the portrait of Mr. Dipert, and typically we have one up here on an easel and it's unveiled. That just would not work for this building. And so he and a team of people came out and spent the entire day with us and took, I don't know, a couple of thousand photos. And so they selected two. And we've actually already hung that picture. And so if you, as you leave today or you're wandering around or looking at the tours, it is up by the south parking lot right inside the foyer, and it's already up on the wall. You need to take an opportunity to go see the photograph because it looks like it's just part of the building. And so it is just absolutely amazing. And we have another one of Mr. Dipert that's inside the front office, and they hung that on Friday. So please make sure that you take a look at the picture and the photograph that's been dedicated to the building. Again, it has been an honor and a privilege. I've been a part of this project since before the bond ever passed, and never in a million years did I think I'd be here today serving as a principal for this building and for our students and for this entire community. As we get ready to close, though, I really want to thank our staff and our students for everything that they've done. It has absolutely been a team effort to make this dedication a success. We have plenty of breakfast items left. Everything here was made by our students today, from our culinary to floral design to our student ambassadors to our police academy kids holding the doors open this morning. And so if you will do me the honor in giving our staff and our kiddos another round of applause. So one last thing before we go, our faculty and staff, they've seen Mr. Dipert and Linda out here lots. They've come out here for lunch events and things like that all the time, and they wanted to do something a little special for you as well. So we have a signed photograph of the building that we'd like to present to Mr. Dipert at this time. Linda and Dan have had the opportunity to mix and mingle with our staff. We were actually having a faculty Christmas luncheon one day, and Dan and Linda were out here. We were talking about the dedication and getting ready, and so we just invited them to lunch, and they got to meet the teachers in the teacher collaboration area. So they've just become a fixture out here, and we just love having them here each and every day. So that concludes our ceremony today. Thank you again for being here. Please partake in the refreshments that we have and the breakfast foods, and we'll begin the tours in about 5 minutes at our tiered seating directly behind us.